Bret Hart and Goldberg are once again in the spotlight, decades after the infamous kick that ended Hart's legendary career. Goldberg has stirred controversy by saying he doesn't care about Hart, while Bret has started speaking openly about the incident, bringing old tensions back to life. Bret, who has faced many personal struggles since that tragic moment, continues to deal with its lasting impact. But what's behind this latest buzz? Let's uncover all the details in this video. Goldberg vs. Bret, no apologies. Bret Hart, one of wrestling's greatest legends, had his career cut short in one of the most unfortunate ways imaginable. A five-time WWE champion and a major star in both WWE and WCW, Hart was known for his exceptional technical skills, storytelling, and charisma. Fans called him the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. His incredible contributions earned him a place in the WWE Hall of Fame twice, first in 2006 as an individual, and again in 2019 as part of the Hart Foundation. However, Bret's remarkable career didn't end the way it deserved to. In 1999, during a WCW match at Starrcade, Bill Goldberg delivered a kick to Bret's head, causing a severe concussion. Bret later blamed Goldberg for being careless in executing the move, which led to injuries that forced him to retire in 2000. Since then, Bret has often criticized Goldberg's wrestling ability, even saying he belongs in a Hall of Shame rather than a Hall of Fame. The incident didn't just end Bret's career, it caused a huge financial loss too. In a 2019 interview, Bret revealed that the injury cost him around $16 million. He had just signed a major contract with WCW worth $3 million per year for 3 years, with an additional 2 years on his existing deal, all of which ended instantly due to the injury. Goldberg, also a respected wrestling star, has expressed deep regret for what happened in multiple interviews, including one in 2016. Goldberg has called the incident the biggest mistake of his life and apologized, saying he has great respect for Bret Hart and never intended to hurt him. But even before that tragic injury, Hart had already been surrounded by controversy. Back in 1997, he left WWE for WCW after the infamous Montreal Screwjob, a shocking moment when WWE boss Vince McMahon secretly changed the outcome of a match, making Bret lose his championship to Shawn Michaels. The move was meant to prevent Hart from taking the WWE title with him to WCW. Despite the career-ending injury years later, Bret made short returns to wrestling in 2010 and 2011 for a few special matches, even winning the United States Championship in 2010. His final match took place in September 2011 on an episode of Raw, where he teamed up with John Cena for a memorable victory. Although his career ended far earlier than fans expected, Bret Hart remains a wrestling legend, celebrated for his incredible skill and unforgettable moments in the ring. Over the years, Hart has continued to criticize Goldberg, blaming him for the injury and calling out his inexperience and unsafe wrestling style. Despite Goldberg's repeated apologies, Hart hasn't let go of his frustration. In a recent appearance on the Chris Van Vliet podcast, Goldberg finally addressed Bret's ongoing criticism, saying, "I really don't care anymore for Bret. I could care less." He admitted that what happened was a mistake caused by his inexperience at the time, but made it clear he's ready to move on. Goldberg emphasized once again that he never intended to harm Bret Hart and mentioned that he no longer feels the need to keep apologizing, as he has already expressed his remorse many times over the years. Both Hart and Goldberg were major stars in WCW during the late 1990s, each holding world championship titles at the time of the incident. They were even WCW Tag Team Champions together before tragedy struck. After the injury, Bret was forced to vacate his titles and eventually retire from wrestling, while Goldberg continued his career. The moment remains one of the most controversial and talked about incidents in professional wrestling history. Recently, Goldberg reignited controversy with new comments about Bret Hart during an interview, adding more fuel to their long-standing feud. Their history dates back to the 1999 WCW match where Goldberg's kick to Hart's head caused a severe concussion and injury Bret says ended his wrestling career for good. Since then, Hart has never held back from criticizing Goldberg, often labeling him an unsafe and careless performer. Over the years, Goldberg has repeatedly apologized and explained his side of the story, but Bret has remained firm in his stance. In a recent appearance on the Von Erich Brothers podcast, Goldberg opened up about his mentors, naming Hulk Hogan and C.T. Fletcher as key figures he looks to for advice. During the conversation, he also spoke about how modern wrestling fans don't always value or understand the legacy of legends like Hogan or himself. He expressed frustration with how quickly people forget about veteran wrestlers and said that today's generation relies too heavily on what they read online instead of truly appreciating the contributions of the greats. Goldberg said that today's fans don't truly understand the excitement of watching him perform during his prime, then made a sharp remark referring to Bret Hart as the guy I kicked in the head. He explained that wrestling is a tough business where accidents happen and suggested that anyone who complains about rough treatment in the ring might be in the wrong profession. Emphasizing that injuries are part of wrestling as long as there's no malicious intent, Goldberg's comments are expected to provoke a reaction from Bret, who has never held back his opinions about him. For those interested, the full interview can be found on the Von Erichs podcast. As we move from Goldberg's controversial remarks to the moment that changed everything, it's impossible to forget Goldberg's infamous kick that ended Bret Hart's career. Once WCW Tag Team Champions, the two faced each other at Starrcade 1999 in what was meant to be an iconic match, but tragedy struck when Goldberg's kick hit Bret's head, causing a severe concussion that ended his wrestling days. In his autobiography Hitman, My Real Life in the Cartoon World of Wrestling, Bret described the incident vividly, recalling how Goldberg warned him to watch the kick before striking him so hard it felt like being hit with a hockey stick. The impact left him lying on the mat, clutching the back of his head in pain. Though he tried to finish the match, he couldn't remember the planned ending due to the concussion and initially thought it was just a sore neck. Despite his worsening symptoms, he continued wrestling until a visit to concussion specialist Dr. William Mewis revealed serious damage to his neck, confirming the true extent of the injury that ended one of wrestling's greatest careers. Dr. William Mewis warned Bret Hart that his career was likely over after examining the severe damage to his neck and skull. Despite the devastating news, Bret recalled that before the match he had told Goldberg, "Don't hurt me," expressing his frustration later that Goldberg hadn't been more careful, though he also admitted that there was no malicious intent behind the kick. Over the years, Hart has maintained that he still respects Goldberg and even considers him a friend, though he wishes things had gone differently. Goldberg, on his part, has repeatedly expressed deep regret, calling the incident the biggest mistake of his life. He has apologized many times, saying he holds Bret in the highest regard and never wanted to hurt him, though he continues to carry guilt knowing he can never undo the damage caused. After the injury, Bret kept wrestling for a short time, unaware of how serious his condition really was, until doctors diagnosed him with post-concussion syndrome and he was forced to vacate his title in January 2000. By the end of that year, Bret officially retired from professional wrestling. In a surprising turn, both Bret and Goldberg have since learned to find some humor in the tragedy at autograph signings. It's not unusual to see them both signing photos of the infamous kick. Reflecting on his career, Bret has also spoken about the matches he never got to have, saying that if his time in wrestling hadn't been cut short, he would have loved to end his career with legendary opponents like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Undertaker, or Shawn Michaels. He also mentioned that despite their bitter past stemming from the Montreal Screwjob, he and Michaels eventually reconciled and became friends, and Bret believes they could have delivered an unforgettable final match together. If circumstances had been different, Bret Hart's story might have ended another way, but despite everything, he has moved forward and found closure with many of his past rivals. Widely regarded as one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, Bret's career remains legendary even though it ended under unfortunate circumstances. The match with Goldberg, which was for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, was filled with interruptions from referees that disrupted its rhythm. During the bout, Goldberg delivered a super kick to Hart as he bounced off the ropes, and though Bret clutched his head in pain, he continued wrestling, even taking Goldberg's spear and finishing the match. The ending was controversial, with Roddy Piper recreating the Montreal Screwjob by awarding Bret the victory amid boos from the crowd. Following the injury, Bret wrestled 8 more matches over the next few weeks against opponents like Jerry Flynn and Kevin Nash in both televised and house show events, but continuing to perform only worsened his condition. Eventually, he was diagnosed with post-concussion syndrome and forced to relinquish the WCW World Heavyweight Championship in January 2000 before retiring later that year. A decade later, in 2010, Bret made a surprising return to WWE after reconciling with the company. He became part of a major storyline with Vince McMahon, which culminated in a symbolic match at WrestleMania 26. To protect his health, Bret avoided physical bumps and focused on light actions such as punches and chair shots. He also participated in a few other matches afterward, marking a respectful and emotional end to a career that, despite its hardships, remains one of the most celebrated in wrestling history. Bret Hart also appeared in brief segments with The Miz and Chris Jericho during his 2010 WWE return, keeping his involvement minimal due to his physical limitations. Although his in-ring career ended earlier than anyone expected, Bret Hart's legacy as a wrestling icon remains untarnished. His unmatched technical ability, storytelling, and unforgettable moments continue to be celebrated by fans around the world. However, not everyone agrees with how Bret has handled his long-standing grudge against Bill Goldberg. A former WWE star recently criticized Hart for constantly complaining about Goldberg, calling it a flaw in his character. Over the years, Bret has often expressed frustration about the 1999 WCW Starrcade incident where Goldberg's kick caused a severe concussion that ended his career. Former WWE wrestler Matt Riddle also shared his thoughts on the matter during an interview, recalling a time when he and his friend Damian Priest tried to speak with Bret at a WWE catering table, but Bret ignored them, which Riddle found disappointing. Riddle went on to comment about Bret's ongoing resentment toward Goldberg, saying that Goldberg had already apologized publicly and made it clear that the accident wasn't intentional. He expressed frustration that Bret still can't seem to move past it, suggesting that it's better to focus on working hard and letting success speak for itself rather than holding on to old grudges. Despite these criticisms, Bret Hart remains a respected legend in the wrestling world. In a fun and surprising moment, he recently made a guest appearance on the November 25th episode of American Dad, delighting fans who were thrilled to see him featured alongside his iconic 1990s entrance theme, a lighthearted nod to his legendary wrestling career. Bret Hart was named Pro Wrestling Illustrated's Most Hated Wrestler of the Year in 1997, but his popularity with fans has only grown over time. His recent animated appearance on American Dad wasn't his first time on TV. He famously appeared on The Simpsons back in the 1990s. Before the American Dad episode aired, Hart shared a preview clip on social media teasing his role, where he heroically saves the Smith family in the town of Langley Falls, and encouraged fans to tune in on TBS. Beyond his TV cameo, Hart also made a special appearance on Monday Night Raw in Calgary on September 9th, where he was seen backstage sharing a segment with Gunther and Sami Zayn. One of the most touching moments came when he had a warm reunion with Triple H. The two embraced, and Bret expressed how happy he was to see him again. This moment caught fans off guard, as Bret has been openly critical of Triple H in the past, often questioning his in-ring skills and calling out his behind-the-scenes behavior. In earlier interviews, Bret even claimed that Triple H and Shawn Michaels once tried to get Ken Shamrock fired by convincing Vince McMahon that Shamrock was too rough in the ring. Now that we've seen how Bret Hart has dealt with the infamous kick and found ways to move forward, let's explore some of the most significant events and turning points in his life. The downfall of Bret Hart. Bret Hart is one of the most respected wrestlers in history, celebrated for his unmatched technical skill and innovative approach inside the ring. Even more than 2 decades after his retirement, he remains a true legend in professional wrestling. However, not every chapter of his story was filled with triumph. Some moments, difficult losses, and creative missteps contributed to the darker side of his otherwise iconic career. Unfortunate circumstances and poor creative choices left lasting marks on Bret Hart's otherwise incredible journey in professional wrestling. The Montreal Screwjob remains one of the most infamous and defining moments in wrestling history, a shocking incident where Vince McMahon changed the planned outcome of Bret's match, making him lose the WWE Championship without his knowledge. This betrayal left Bret deeply bitter and cast a shadow over his WWE legacy despite his many accomplishments. It took him more than a decade to return to the company, showing just how profoundly the incident affected him. After leaving WWE, fans eagerly awaited Bret's debut in WCW, but what should have been a triumphant moment turned into disappointment when he was introduced merely as a referee for a match between Eric Bischoff and Larry Zbyszko. This creative decision squandered the perfect opportunity to showcase his abilities and started his WCW run on a weak note. Bret later called his submission match with Bob Backlund at WrestleMania 11 the worst of his career, saying that although it was meant to end their feud, poor execution and weak storytelling made it one of his most forgettable performances. Another highly anticipated bout, Bret Hart vs. Sting in WCW, also failed to live up to expectations. Fans had hoped to see an epic clash highlighting their signature submission finishers, but instead, the match was buried under an overcomplicated NWO storyline and a chaotic finish that turned what could have been a dream match into another missed opportunity. In 1998, WCW changed the classic War Games format by adding a third team instead of the usual 2. Bret was placed on NWO Hollywood, competing against NWO Wolfpack and another faction, but even this high-profile match couldn't capture the magic fans once associated with his name, further reflecting how mismanagement in WCW wasted one of wrestling's greatest talents. The 1998 War Games match featured 3 teams: NWO Hollywood, NWO Wolfpack, and Team WCW, but instead of focusing on teamwork, the storyline centered on an individual prize, a shot at the WCW Championship. This shift confused fans and resulted in one of the least successful War Games matches in history. Bret Hart's time as WCW champion was also plagued by bad luck. He captured the title twice but was forced to vacate it both times without ever being defeated in the ring. His second reign ended tragically after the career-ending injury caused by Goldberg's infamous kick, cutting short what could have been a legendary run. Known throughout his career for his professionalism and discipline, Bret faced rare moments of frustration, most notably with Shawn Michaels. Their rivalry turned deeply personal after Michaels made a disrespectful remark implying Bret was unfaithful to his wife, leading to a heated backstage altercation that exposed the real tension between the two. In WCW, Bret's alliance with Hulk Hogan further hurt his reputation. Instead of being showcased as the world-class star he was, Bret was often portrayed as Hogan's sidekick in the NWO Hollywood faction. Their first singles match ended in a no contest, with Bret pretending to be injured only to help Hogan afterward, a storyline that disappointed fans and made Bret seem secondary. One of the most frustrating moments of his WWE career came at WrestleMania 9, when he lost the WWE Championship to Yokozuna, only for Hulk Hogan to immediately enter the ring and win the title within minutes. Bret's endorsement of Hogan in that moment felt unnecessary and hollow, especially since Hogan never returned the favor or helped elevate Bret's career in the future. These moments, filled with bad booking, personal conflicts, and unfortunate timing, created setbacks that even a wrestler of Bret Hart's caliber struggled to overcome. While these moments were disappointing and, at times, embarrassing, they do not define Bret Hart's legacy. Despite the setbacks and controversies, he remains one of professional wrestling's greatest performers, and his contributions to the industry continue to be honored and celebrated worldwide. When we talk about Bret Hart's life and achievements, he stands out as a true wrestling legend whose impact goes far beyond the ring. Bret Sergeant Hart, born on July 2, 1957, is a Canadian-American retired professional wrestler whose legacy is unmatched. As a second-generation superstar from the iconic Hart family, his wrestling roots run deep. Starting with amateur wrestling during his school years at Ernest Manning High School and Mount Royal College, Bret showed early promise as a grappler, a skill that would later shape his extraordinary professional journey. Known across the globe as the Hitman, Bret Hart's name is synonymous with technical precision, storytelling, and excellence inside the squared circle. His ability to combine athletic skill with emotion made him one of the most respected and admired figures in wrestling history. Throughout his career, Bret faced countless challenges and personal hardships, but his passion, discipline, and determination cemented his place as a legend. Born and raised in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, Bret grew up surrounded by the wrestling world. His father, Stu Hart, was a renowned promoter and trainer who ran the legendary Stampede wrestling promotion, and the Hart family home, famously known as the Hart Dungeon, became a training ground for aspiring wrestlers. Growing up in this environment, Bret developed a deep respect and understanding of the craft, laying the foundation for the remarkable career that would follow. Bret Hart, known as the Hitman, stands as one of the greatest professional wrestlers in history, admired for his unmatched technical skill and storytelling ability in the ring. Unlike many of his larger-than-life peers, Bret relied on precision, discipline, and realism to captivate audiences, earning the nickname the Excellence of Execution. His rise began in the WWF as part of the Hart Foundation with his brother-in-law Jim, the Anvil, Neidhart, before breaking out as a single star. His victory over Mr. Perfect at SummerSlam 1991 showcased his mastery and marked his ascent as one of wrestling's top performers. In 1992, Bret defeated Ric Flair to win his first WWF World Heavyweight Championship, symbolizing a shift from the era of powerhouses to one that valued technical wrestling and authenticity. Throughout the 1990s, Bret delivered iconic matches against legends like Shawn Michaels, Steve Austin, The Undertaker, and his brother Owen Hart, including the legendary WrestleMania 13 bout with Steve Austin, considered one of the greatest matches ever. Whether as a hero or a villain, Bret's performances were rooted in emotion, realism, and respect for the craft, solidifying his legacy as one of wrestling's most respected and influential figures. Bret Hart reached the pinnacle of his career in the early 1990s, becoming a multi-time WWF champion and solidifying his status as one of the most technically skilled wrestlers of all time. His matches against opponents like his brother Owen Hart at WrestleMania X and Shawn Michaels in the legendary Iron Man match at WrestleMania 12 remain some of the finest examples of storytelling and athleticism in wrestling history. These bouts highlighted Bret's ability to blend realism, emotion, and technical mastery qualities that set him apart in an era dominated by larger-than-life characters. Known as the excellence of execution, Bret brought a sense of authenticity to professional wrestling, proving that it could be both sport and art. His rivalry with Stone Cold Steve Austin further demonstrated his genius for in-ring psychology. Their iconic match at WrestleMania 13 not only showcased intense physicality but also revolutionized storytelling with a rare double turn that made Austin a hero and Bret a villain. Despite his immense success, Bret's career was not without hardship, most notably the Montreal Screwjob in 1997, one of wrestling's most controversial moments, which tested his integrity and forever changed his relationship with the WWF. The planned outcome of Bret Hart's 1997 match was changed without his knowledge, leading to the infamous Montreal Screwjob betrayal that deeply affected him and ultimately caused his departure from the WWF. Though the incident left a bitter mark on his career, it also highlighted Bret's unwavering principles and commitment to fairness. After leaving WWF, he joined World Championship Wrestling, WCW, to continue his journey, but his time there was filled with missed opportunities and frustrating creative decisions. Despite these setbacks, he delivered memorable performances, including an emotional tribute match to his late brother Owen Hart against Chris Benoit. Unfortunately, his career came to an abrupt end in 1999 after suffering a severe concussion from an accidental kick by Bill Goldberg, which later contributed to a stroke in 2002. While his in-ring career ended earlier than expected, Bret's influence on professional wrestling remains legendary. Outside the ring, he has been married 3 times and is currently with his wife, Stephanie Washington, whom he met in 2008 and married in 2010 despite a 26-year age difference. Born in 1983 in San Francisco, California, Stephanie is known for her vibrant personality and active social media presence, often sharing moments from their life together. She attended Bon Mi Secondary School, where she served as president of the Spanish Club and organized international tours. Together, Bret and Stephanie have built a happy and supportive life, marking a peaceful and fulfilling new chapter in a hitman's journey. The planned outcome of Bret Hart's 1997 match was changed without his knowledge, leading to the infamous Montreal Screwjob betrayal that deeply affected him and ultimately caused his departure from the WWF. Though the incident left a bitter mark on his career, it also highlighted Bret's unwavering principles and commitment to fairness. After leaving WWF, he joined World Championship Wrestling, WCW, to continue his journey, but his time there was filled with missed opportunities and frustrating creative decisions. Despite these setbacks, he delivered memorable performances, including an emotional tribute match to his late brother Owen Hart against Chris Benoit. Unfortunately, his career came to an abrupt end in 1999 after suffering a severe concussion from an accidental kick by Bill Goldberg, which later contributed to a stroke in 2002. While his in-ring career ended earlier than expected, Bret's influence on professional wrestling remains legendary. Outside the ring, he has been married 3 times and is currently with his wife, Stephanie Washington, whom he met in 2008 and married in 2010 despite a 26-year age difference. Born in 1983 in San Francisco, California, Stephanie is known for her vibrant personality and active social media presence, often sharing moments from their life together. She attended Bon Mi Secondary School, where she served as president of the Spanish Club and organized international tours. Together, Bret and Stephanie have built a happy and supportive life, marking a peaceful and fulfilling new chapter in a hitman's journey. The planned outcome of Bret Hart's 1997 match was changed without his knowledge, leading to the infamous Montreal Screwjob, a betrayal that deeply affected him and caused his departure from the WWF. Though it left a bitter mark on his career, it also showed his strong principles and commitment to fairness. After leaving WWF, he joined World Championship Wrestling, WCW, but his time there was filled with missed opportunities and disappointing creative decisions. Still, Bret delivered memorable performances, including a heartfelt tribute match to his late brother Owen Hart against Chris Benoit. Sadly, his career ended in 1999 after a severe concussion from an accidental kick by Bill Goldberg, which later led to a stroke in 2002. Despite this, Bret's legacy as one of wrestling's greatest technical performers remains unshakable. Outside the ring, Bret has been married 3 times and is currently with his wife, Stephanie Washington, whom he met in 2008 and married in 2010 despite a 26-year age gap. Born in 1983 in San Francisco, California, Stephanie is known for her lively personality and active social media presence, often sharing glimpses of their life together. She attended Bon Mi Secondary School, where she served as president of the Spanish club and organized international tours. Together, Bret and Stephanie have built a strong and happy relationship, marking a peaceful new chapter in the Hitman's life.